Hi, I'm Matt, and I don't believe we landed on the moon. I am not a conspiracy theorist. I don't have any real hard opinions on JFK. I don't necessarily think Bush did 9/11. I don't believe that the government is putting chemicals in the sky. What are other conspiracy theories?
Area 51.
Oh, I do kind of think that something happened at Area 51. I got into reading up a lot on conspiracy theories, and a lot of the times it's all baloney. I go in specifically to debunk them, and I did so with the moon landing. So I started to read more stuff about the moon landing. After I started to debunk certain parts of it, there were some things that I couldn't explain. I don't think that we landed on the moon in 1969, or ever. Motives. Let's start with the motive of why the US government would have faked the moon landing. Cold War is number one. We were at it with the Russians. JFK came out in 1961 and said, you know what, by the end of the decade, we're gonna go to the moon. And then therefore, we had to do it. That's JFK, that's our guy. And we supposedly beat them. We didn't. There were concerns that Russia was gonna build a missile base on the moon. Sounds crazy, but it's not. And it's what people believe. As that decade progressed, we are not making the strides that we see Russia making. They put Yuri Gagarin out into space before we did, and that was scary. There's a lot of shit going on here. We have the Van Allen belts, lost cosmonauts, Gus Grissom, CROSSHAIRS, we'll get there, competing shadows. My theory is we didn't really have the technology to do so. Look at the computers that they were using in the mission control. They were like 16-bit computers. They were like TI-83 calculators. We're in this race. We are running up against an issue with the Van Allen belts. The Van Allen belts are these radiation belts that kind of exist here. It's radiation, and that would tear up the human body. NASA was having a really hard time trying to figure out how to safely send someone through the Van Allen belts. Russia knew that we didn't, but couldn't say, you guys don't know how to get people through the Van Allen belts, and we know because we don't either. Russia, quietly failing to send people through the Van Allen belts, had killed a number of people. Gus Grissom was one of the original astronauts on the Apollo mission. He was originally gonna be the first man on the moon. There's a conspiracy theory that NASA murdered Gus Grissom. He was publicly critical of NASA's success and ability to reach the moon. They needed him quiet. Right there, in 1967, Gus Grissom died. The failed Apollo 1 mission in which Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee died in a fire before launch. There are a lot of discrepancies based on the footage of the moon landing. And a lot of those I don't necessarily believe are good, hard arguments. What can't be explained away is the crosshairs on the photos. In the images of the NASA moon landing, these are photos that NASA took and released. There are moments where the crosshairs, which are fixed to the camera, actually lie behind equipment. The theory is that the only way that the crosshairs would be behind a piece of equipment in a photo would be if the piece of equipment was superimposed. This happens on a couple of occasions in the NASA photos, and to me, I don't know how you get around it. Say this is the photo of the moon. We got the rocks and the moon here. Let's say the sun is over here, right? Well, we got shadows naturally this way, but in some occasions, there are shadows competing. This would suggest another light source over here, sending the shadow this way. If you're on the moon, there wouldn't be two light sources, there would only be the one, the sun. The lack of artifacts. The easiest way to prove that we've been to the moon is to show people the things on the moon. However, everyone insists we don't have telescopes big enough to see the shit we put on the moon. The going argument is that to be visible from our best telescopes, something would have to be a little bit larger than a small house. That's nuts. A lot of people suggest that The footage is just slowed down half speed. We shot it in a Hollywood studio, jumped around, drove a lunar lander around sand, and then just cut it by half the speed. You take the actual footage from the moon landing, you do double speed, it looks almost exactly like a normal car driving around on a beach. Really very interesting. Look into it. A lot of people have recreated the footage. It's very easy to do. BuzzFeed has done it. Did it almost exactly and perfectly. I recognize that this looks like the ramblings of a crazy person. People look at me like I'm crazy, they're whispering, I hear it, they go, ooh, he's nuts. Do your own investigation, come up with your own conclusion. And I think that you might find that that conclusion leads you to believe the moon landing did not happen.
Are you a moother?
Okay.
Are you a moother? Answer the
I didn't
question.
realize you were a moother. He's a moother.